What's up? It's Leaf with Freeskier back in the gear lab, and today I got a pretty cool boot to show off to you. This is the K2 Recon 130 AF. What AF means is basically the all feature boot. So it basically has all the best tech and features that K2 offers, and they have put it in this really awesome all mountain mid-volume offering. Kind of running through those features, first off, the biggest thing that we're seeing on a lot of boots these days is the dual BOA system. The dual BOA system, or zonal BOA as K2 calls it, obviously you have the lower BOA system here and the upper BOA. Starting with the lower BOA kind of acts and replaces the two bottom buckles on the boot here. The biggest thing that I really like about it is that it provides more of a wrapping over the top of the boot, while buckles can apply some pressure points on the bottom of the foot and the top of the foot, particularly the instep. I think as someone with a really high instep, having a little bit more kind of a wrapping sensation over the top of the foot just reduces some of the pain there. And it allows you to, depending on the conditions and what you're doing for the day, really dial in what type of fit you want, where buckles, you know, once you get them, you can adjust them, but once you get them micro adjusted, they're kind of annoying to like re-micro adjust. And so if you're just skiing with your friends and messing around on a spring day, you can kind of keep this a little bit looser. And then when you're charging, you can really crank that down to have that boot super locked around your foot. Going along with this, K2 kind of uses something called a fast fit instep, which is basically just a different barometer material. So it's a little bit softer over the top of the foot. You kind of can see the changing colors here. And this change is basically just allows your foot to slide in a little bit easier. This material flexes a little bit more, so your foot will just kind of slide in there when you're getting into it. Obviously, depending on the size of the boot that you have. If you wear a boot that's super snug, probably a little bit harder to get into, but the general concept is there and it does work. This also will, you know, reduce some of the pressure over the top of your instep. Moving on to the top upper BOA, probably my favorite of the two BOA systems. The real thing I like about this is that it does a really, really good job of wrapping and securing around your foot. You know, with buckles, again, like you can micro adjust and you can get it to where it fits perfectly. But, you know, when you have that micro adjust and you're trying to crank down, it can be pretty hard, especially when the conditions are a little bit colder and the boot in plastic is just inherently a little bit stiffer. This allows you to get a lot of leverage over the top cuff. And I kind of like to think about this like a kind of rock climbing anchor where you have 2 points of contact here and one central area. So as you twist this, the boot will naturally equalize around your calf and just kind of securely fit there. And it just kind of feels super good and is comfortable and is easier to get dialed in kind of without thinking than buckles would. I would highly recommend going and reading all the papers that BOA has published about their systems, and you are going to get a little bit of performance upgrades there from the BOA system. Moving on to the rest of the boot, obviously this boot is a fixed cuff, just like the rest of the Recon boots in the past. And so, you know, no walk mode here. This boot is built for inbound skiing. It is built for charging. It's 130 flex, it's stiff, it's powerful. And so you're gonna, you know, obviously be able to ski pretty hard and have a nice progressive, consistent flex with this boot, where some of the kind of walk mode offerings can ski a little bit sloppier. Also with this boot is K2 has redone their liner. So this is they called the P1 liner. It's basically just a big upgrade to the liners for their all mountain boots. The biggest thing that I think is awesome about this liner is they went ahead and remolded the ankle and heel area of the liner, and it just feels really, really nice and secure around the heel of the foot and the ankle area, as well as you just get some nice premium materials. This is just a super high quality liner. And of course it's heat moldable, like most boots these days. And that goes for the shell as well. So throw this on the heater, throw this in the oven, and you are gonna have a boot that feels really good out of the ski shop. You know, obviously not perfect. Ski boots are notoriously picky, and we highly recommend going to a boot fitter, but having that fully heat moldable capability will just kind of help that break-in process and kind of get you on the way there. I also think that K2's Zeppa board or boot board is really cool as well. This is the board that sits under the liner like this, kind of in the bottom of the boot, like right in here. And K2 kind of adds this rubber-like material, which just adds some vibration dampening to the boot. And, you know, obviously with skiing, like your knees are taking a lot of impact. And if you were to kind of land something a little bit stiffer and not as loose, this will just provide a little bit of impact protection, as well as walking around just a little bit more comfortable. So small upgrade, but you know, with ski boots, like all the comfort you can get is amazing. And this is just a nice little feature there. And then the next big thing that I really like about this boot is going to be the power strap. So the power strap, unlike a Velcro power strap that, you know, you've seen a million times, kind of you pull and Velcro to the side of the boot here, this boot uses kind of some elastic material as well as some webbing here. And there are 4 pieces. There's a bunch of reasons that this is great, but first is going to be turn initiation. So allowing to yourself to really crank down on this strap, and the elastic's gonna pull around the shin and the upper cuff of the boot. It's gonna reduce the gap that usually kind of happens between the shin and the front of the liner. So this gap right here, and that gap essentially can make your skiing feel sloppy. You lean into the front of your boots, shins hit the front, the boot flexes, that gets translated to the binding, and then the ski, and having a gap there can kind of reduce that time and make it feel pretty sloppy. And then when you have this kind of pulled around, it sucks everything together and just makes your leg and foot and ski and boot kind of feel like one unit. Everything just feels snappy and quicker. And this style of strap is used by basically the entire World Cup alpine racing. All the athletes there use this just because it gives that little extra advantage. And then the other thing about it too is if you are skiing a 130 boot, you know, you're probably jumping off some cliffs or taking some bigger impacts, whether that's in the park or in big mountain terrain, and having the cuff and the liner sucked up against your shin as you land, you're not gonna get as much shin bang. So shin bang happens when there is that gap there, and you kind of can see this kind of material right here. As you land, if your shin isn't connected to the system, it will kind of bump up against this kind of ridge here and cause some bruising. But if you have this power strap sucked all the way around your shin and calf, it basically reduces that space and thus reduces shin bang. Other than that, like, this boot is gonna be 100mm last, 130 flex, like I said, and you know, there's not really much you could ask for in a kind of hard charging all mountain resort offering boot. You also get grip lock here at the bottom, which is basically a staple these days. And this boot is just built really, really well. You have all the features you could ever want in an all mountain boot. And we definitely recommend going and trying it out with a boot fitter. And if it fits you great, like, you're not gonna have any complaints. This thing is gonna ski amazing. And it has all those little details and features that you're gonna really grow to appreciate. And then when you buy your next boot, you're gonna want all those same features. So we'll see you next time. Peace.